Welcome to What a Creep, the show with Margot Donohue and Sonia Mansfield, talking about creeps from the past to the present.
This is your quick guide to the biggest creeps, jerks, assholes, and losers, the best of the worst.
From two nice ladies who want the world to be a little less creepy.
Welcome back to What a Creep. This is Margot Donohue, and my cohort in creepitude, as always, is the amazing Sonia Mansfield. Hey, Sonia.
Hello, my friend.
Hello, my friend. We are the podcast that talks about creeps from the past to the present. Sometimes we talk about ambivalent creeps. We'll talk about that in a second. But just so you know, we're always looking for suggestions for creeps and for non-creeps. And in case it's your first time listening, we always end the show with somebody who is not a creep, so you're not left feeling completely hopeless about the world. You can find us on Facebook. We have a basic Facebook page. That's where people go to complain about our language. This is your warning. We use salty language in this program.
Fuck, shit, damn.
There you go. Just like that. You like cursing? We'll bring you some cursing.
That's right.
Damn it. We're much more interactive in our private Facebook group, so you have to ask to join that. You just basically have to answer a couple of questions. Just promise not to be an asshole, and we'll let you in. We're on Twitter at CreepPod, because somebody had What a Creep for 10 years and never used it.
Creep.
And then we're on Threads and Instagram and Blue Sky at What a Creep Podcast.
Correct.
And we have an old-timey email, whatacreeppodcast@gmail.com. And if you would like some stickers, we've been sending out stickers to people all over the world. It's been a damn delight for me. Please just send us your address. We're happy to do that for you. Or that's a great place to send us your suggestions for creeps and or non-creeps, especially if you want to keep it on the DL. Or you just don't go on social media because you're like, fuck that.
Yeah, makes sense.
We respect that totally.
Absolutely.
So you want to tell them about the website?
Yeah, go to whatacreeppodcast.com, and it's everything you want to know about our podcast, but we're afraid to ask. We have links to all of our past episodes, and you can click in there and open them up, and we have our show notes. We source every single thing we do. We're not making this stuff up. So if you want to do a deeper dive on any of our creeps, that's a fabulous place to start. We also have a link to our Substack and our merch shop where you could get t-shirts and tote bags and face masks, which we might be needing again because
is it the bird flu that's coming around?
There's some sort of other virus creeping around. At least we know now how to wear masks and isolate if we need to. So everything old is new again.
Like our creep today.
This season's greatest fashion statement will be a new face mask.
And nothing else.
And nothing else. We also have a link to our Patreon. You want to tell them about that, Margot?
Yes, Patreon. It's a way you can help support the show financially if you choose to do so. The way we entice you is we have our first 8 seasons up there. That's just for the Patreon people. And we also put out 2 bonus episodes a month.
They're super
those
fun.
Bonus episodes, they're so fun. We just kind of shoot the shit and talk about things in the news, things like that. It helps to pay for things like we do pay for the news gathering here. They do a lot of that heavy journalism. We pay for it. We're foolish enough to pay for it, I guess.
We want to pay people for their work.
Exactly. And also
it's a non-creepy thing to do.
Exactly. And it also helps pay for things like the costs of the show to put it together. Yeah. So we really appreciate. I want to say hi to Jamie, who I don't know if she re-signed or is first timer, but thanks for joining us. And another way you could support us is if you could leave us reviews wherever you get your podcast. Just be sure to subscribe. That way you'll never miss an episode. But if you use Apple Podcasts, I want to say thanks to Marianne with no E. And then it was Mom101609.
Yes, that's right.
Both of them just left us 5-star reviews in Apple Podcasts. Thank you so much. That's really helpful. And I want to also say thanks to everybody who reaches out via Spotify. Very cool of you to do that. And Good Pods. We were rated very highly on Good Pods.
Thanks.
So all of you that use that platform, thank you so much. That platform, that app, whatever the hell they call it. Am I missing anything, Sonia?
I think that's everything.
Okay.
Shall I give a little update on this episode? Do we want to talk about the other thing first?
I'd like to start talking about the other thing, if that's okay.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Because we don't want to be... Morgan Spurlock passed away today as we are recording this. And I'm a big fan of documentaries. I am a big fan of documentary filmmakers. I feel like, they're doing the yeoman's work for all of us. They normally don't make a lot of money. It's very hard work. It's very hard to break through. It's very hard to take a concept and make it, and make it work.
Yeah.
And he's somebody a lot of us were admired because he took on a big industry, much like, Michael Moore did when he was taking on Roger and Me, when he was talking about that. And he was taking on McDonald's. And I think a lot of people were talking about him recently. And it's so funny because I was on a Reddit thread about this a couple of weeks ago. I'm on a lot of Reddit threads, by the way. But 20 years ago, Sonia, he released Super Size Me.
That's where I know him from.
Right. And he passed away today. He was 53 years old and to cancer. And fuck cancer. We've all been associated. Fuck cancer. I was very much into that. What he did was the whole concept, in case you're not aware of it, and it was a big fucking deal at the time, by the way. This movie was talked about everywhere.
It's very rare that a documentary that plays in theaters, because remember, this is before streaming and things like that a documentary that plays in theaters gets like a wide audience. And this movie was playing at like theaters you would find in the mall or whatever. It wasn't like art house theaters. I saw it at the Century Movie Theater in Pleasant Hill. That's like
it's huge.
And that's like a real theater. Like it played, so.
I saw the Dream Warriors there.
I mean, it wasn't in the huge dome theater.
Oh, okay.
But it was in a theater. And this movie, everyone was talking about it. Lots of people were seeing it who don't normally see documentaries because they think they're for nerds or whatever. And
sometimes people find them boring because if it's within a topic you don't care about, it's hard because they're taking, you're filming real people, right? And you're filming, anyway, continue.
It's super hard to tell. We don't appreciate documentary filmmakers like we should. It's really difficult to tell a story when you're using like talking heads and existing footage and how you piece that all together to tell a coherent story that's accurate, like fair and interesting at the same time. And it's not just talking heads, how do you make that visually interesting? We're spoiled now. Like I can go on whatever streaming platform I want and watch all the true crime documentaries I want, or all the documentaries about food or whatever.
Animals.
Animals, whatever I want. Like, so to have one like this about food and nutrition and McDonald's, where everybody's probably eaten at a McDonald's at least once, it really tapped into something, and everyone was watching it.
It was huge. The concept was that he was a guy that wanted to take on, and I worked in fast food, by the way, so that's also like a part of my background, where McDonald's, the portion sizes for foods from when we were kids compared to what it became in 2004 is gigantic. And I mean, like, Super Size Me, like the fries were just as big as my head, like that. They were gigantic. And like the stuff you can get at 7-Eleven, those big gulps, and like everything was big, 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 big. And he was trying to say that this is part of the reason. And this is also, I'm now, as I'm talking out loud, it's like the food shaming and the fat shaming also going in there. Like, why is everybody so fat? And it's like, 'cause soda. Because, and it's much more complicated.
Yeah. After this documentary came out, there were a bunch of other ones about like, there was one on HBO that was like, it was about weight too. It was about like the kind of like the obesity epidemic, or like, the weight of the nation. That's what it's called. And it was about like the portions we serve in America and the clean your plate mentality that like we're raised with and things like, and then shaming people for being bigger and they always have that B-roll footage of people like being overweight, and they don't show their head. They're
just walking down the street, like trying to live their fucking lives.
Yeah.
And then we decide like they need to be demonized. This also brings out things like The Biggest Loser and Celebrity Fit Club, all those things that we all kind of bought into.
Yes.
We're like, this is the way we're going to treat obesity.
Yeah.
We're going to make people starve and exercise more than any other generation. And that's going to undo this thing.
Yes.
And Morgan was, I don't know if he was engaged at the time, but he was with a woman who was a vegan chef.
Right.
And the whole thing was like, he wasn't. But he wanted to make the point that, you know, McDonald's, and he picked them because they were the biggest at the time. It's so funny. It's almost quaint now, McDonald's, because there's like Five Guys and there's Shake Shack and there's all these other, you know, burgers have become so gourmet now.
Also, McDonald's was affordable. It was where people who had just a little bit of people who just went with if they had just a little bit of money, they could get like a burger and fries and a Coke or whatever. And like, that's why they went there. So I think, if I remember correctly, he picked this place because like a majority, it was like a really high number of people in America like get their meal from fast food because they maybe don't know how to cook, don't have the money to buy like fresh produce, and they need something fast. And so they, so they eat at McDonald's.
There's no time, you know. You wake up, you go to work, you pick up your kids, you got to clean. There's all these things to do. It's easy to just grab a bag and go. And if this were possible 100 years ago, people would have fucking done it. Trust me.
There's a lot of shaming that comes with eating fast food.
Right.
And it shouldn't be because we're fucking busy, man. People are fucking busy. Like,
I knew when I worked in fast food, I worked at a Roy Rogers. They don't have them anymore. That was an East Coast chain. But some of the people there, like, you know, I think they gave us like 40% off for the food or something like that as an employee. And some of them, that was like their meal. Like, it was, like you said, and I was a teenager making minimum wage, which I'm not even going to say what it was back then. But it was like, for like, with my discount, I remember it was like $2.50 or $3. I could have like the salad and the this and the that.
Yeah.
And anyway, so he decided he was going to prove how bad it is, this fast food is, because it's so full of sugar and salt and blah, 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 blah. So he goes to McDonald's and he said, I'm going to eat every single meal 3 times a day at McDonald's for 30 days. Mm-hmm. And if anybody asks me, do you want to supersize that? I have to say yes. I don't know why that was. You know, it's called upselling, and they do that everywhere for everything. And
totally. When I worked at
you know.
When I worked at the movie theater, anytime someone ordered a medium drink, you would say, you know, for $0.25 more, you could get the large.
And it feels like a bargain. Yeah. You're like, oh yeah, why don't I just get the large? Because the medium's so much smaller anyway.
Could I get a medium popcorn for 75 cents? More, you could get the large, and it comes with free refills. Like, we always upselled. Always.
Yeah. For everything. You buy a car, you buy a house, you like buy anything.
It's not just McDonald's, but that was part of his experiment.
Right. So I'm just saying. So he goes to a doctor, and I don't know if I ever told you this, but the doctor he goes to is an Israeli man who has an accent, you know, and, your liver is testing high. That was my doctor.
Oh.
Dr. Isaacs was my doctor at the time. Very nice man, very like a thorough, really good professional. He was somebody, but like he was in Soho, so like all actors and models, like you go in there in the lobby and people like, can I use my SAG card to get my, shot, like get my appointment? I mean, it was like, oh my God. But, or people paid him with art because, and so he had these gorgeous pieces of artwork. So it was kind of like he was a cool doctor.
Yeah.
Morgan supposedly goes to him, gets all these tests done, and then he says, I'm going to go on this diet. And he goes, all right, well, I'm interested in what happens. And then the whole movie, and especially if you look at you just look at the trailer, you can get an idea. Yeah. But at one point he throws up because he's so sick from eating this food. Mm-hmm. And then at the end, he goes to his doctor. Spoilers for Super Size Me. And his doctor, my former doctor, he says, your liver is like an alcoholic. Your salt is this is that. This is just from eating fast food. He's like, yeah, man, it's just from that. And I gained 25 pounds. I have no sex drive. I'm depressed. My girlfriend's pissed at me. A whole thing.
Right.
And then they leave, and then the movie's over. He made $22 million
Wow.
from that. And documentary people do not make money from this.
Right.
I also know somebody who worked with Morgan for 15 years, also on Super Size Me.
Oh.
And Morgan Spurlock gave everybody who worked on the film, he paid off all their bills. Anybody who had
Damn.
any kind of debt.
Wow.
College, credit card, I think even mortgage. Like, I don't know if I made a mortgage.
Really generous.
It was very, very generous.
Yeah.
He was nominated for an Academy Award. They didn't win. And then he started producing documentary. And he just was a very engaging personality. He just was a good talk show guest and things like that. And then you and I were talking. He did a show called 30 Days. And I think it was on FX Network.
I think it was FX. I think you're right.
And I loved that show. And what he did is he did a job for 30 days and then reported about it. And one of my favorite ones that he did, and you and I were just talking about this, he and his spouse lived on minimum wage jobs straight in the middle of America. They just kind of threw a dart at a map and they moved to this town, and they both had minimum wage jobs, and they tried to live on that for 30 days. And it was a fucking struggle. And by the end of the month, she had to walk to work, which was miles, because they couldn't even afford the bus fare.
Also, she had like a crazy medical thing. Like, I feel like maybe she got a bladder infection or like something, and like that put them in debt instantly because, again, they're both working minimum wage jobs that didn't have benefits. Like, it's really eye-opening.
And and at one point they were engaged. I believe they were engaged at the time, and she had like her birthday in the middle of it. Like, she was 30 or something. Like, she had a major birthday.
Yeah.
And they had to like do it on the cheap because but he wanted to buy a gift for his nephew for his birthday, and it was not even like $7, $8 maybe. And then they had a fight because she was like, that's our bus fare. Like, now I got to walk to work and it's freezing outside. And it's like, you do, like, people don't understand. I remember when Bill O'Reilly, that asshole, we did an episode on him a long time ago, but he would talk about poor people. What do you mean by poor people in this country? They have microwave ovens and this. And I'm like, what? Like,
it is, it's so gross because it's like, just because they're poor, they can't have anything nice.
Microwave ovens are not nice. They're
also,
just,
like, you can't have any kind of convenience
right
at all. It's like, you're not poor. You have running water. Fuck you.
Right.
Fuck you. You have basic human shit. Like, and they look down. Oh, it's such bullshit.
It's incredible bullshit.
Yeah.
And it was very successful. And then he had a deal with CNN, and he did a bunch of documentaries with CNN. And he had a few more movies. One of them was called Where in the World is Osama bin Laden? It was in 2008.
Oh, I didn't watch that one.
It's not good.
Okay.
He does a thing. I'll never forget this, because I think I even went to the movie theater to see this because I was a big fan. But he goes to this bombed out school, you know, because the war was happening and stuff. And I don't know if he's in Pakistan or not, but he's walking around and he's like, man, all I could do is just imagine there were kids here and they were reading, and now there's this. Like, well, duh. I mean, it's not like...
Right.
It was cheesy. It's like if somebody was making... Anyway, he turns out he was very close to where Osama bin Laden was found and killed later on. Yes.
Damn.
He did all these documentaries. He married this woman that was in that show. They lived in my neighborhood. I used to see them all the time. And then they split up. And my friend that I said that worked for him, my friend was I don't want to give away too many details because he doesn't know I'm talking about this, but he was like a second unit person. He did a lot of filming, a lot of on location stuff. So I don't think he was at the office that they had. And they had the office here where I live in Brooklyn. And it turns out he was putting out another movie, and it was called Super Size Me 2. And it was all about, once again, the fast food industry, but it was more about chickens and how chickens are raised in our country. And what do we technically call free range chickens, and then he would show these
Yeah.
little tiny cages they were in. And he's
Oh,
like,
I
"This
would
is not
never. I
free
would
range."
never watch this. It would make me cry.
You would lose your shit.
Yeah.
This is like 2017. This when this comes out,
Okay.
and he supersized me to Holy Chicken. He in 2019 he was going to be in the Sundance Film Festival, and then they took him away, and he was dropped out because he admitted that when he was in college, he was accused of rape of a woman, and then also that at his office he had a sexual harassment, basically a suit. He had to pay somebody off, and a former assistant, because he sexually harassed her.
I never heard these stories. Wow. Okay.
Right. And then 2 years later, I think he's on his second wife. He's saying, this is 2019, he put out a bunch of tweets and said, with this Me Too movement, I've been thinking about a lot of things, and I realize I'm a part of the problem. And then he goes into detail that he sexually harassed women in his office, and also that he was a major alcoholic. And that was probably, and a lot of people then said, that's probably what was going on with his liver when the doctor was looking at, and also maybe why he got sick. Because once again, there are people who eat fast food every day and don't wind up barfing in their cars. Like there's people and live to be 70, 80. Like
Right.
it's
was
not.
Was he drinking at that time?
He's basically said he's been drunk since he was like 15, 16.
Oh, well.
So by the time you're 30, there's some damage there. And maybe if you're eating crappy foods and you're in a crappy mood, you're going to probably indulge in some things to soothe yourself that probably more. I don't know. I wasn't there. But the things he said about women in his office were really gross. And I just know that the person I know that I'm friendly with, he quit right away. As soon as he put out these tweets, he was like, fuck this. And he'd been there forever and was like a long timer.
It's interesting that he would like kind of out himself.
I don't know if he was worried somebody was going to say something.
Maybe. Did he say anything about like, and I'm going to change and do better?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
At the point that he released those tweets, he had said he was 600 days sober, which is almost 2 years.
Yeah.
And that's impressive. We've talked about this before. I lost my younger brother to alcoholism. It is diseases, the addiction.
Addiction is fucking real, man.
It'll mess up your life. It doesn't care who you are. Doesn't care if you're a man or a woman, if you're rich or you're poor, what background you come from. Doesn't care. If it gets it hooks on you, it's really difficult to figure out, because you have to then figure out how to live your life and how to do things. But he also admitted that like he's cheated on every partner that he's been with.
Damn.
He's admitted to a lot of things. And then I don't know what happened to him because he kind of just disappeared. So anyway, he's about a few weeks ago, like I said, like maybe only like a month ago, maybe, there's just been a lot of posts, people going back to Supersize Me. And it could very well be because it was released in June of 2004. So it's the 20th anniversary coming up.
Yeah. Okay.
So the think pieces.
Yeah, here we go.
God bless the think pieces that are going to come out. And, people were saying like, probably it was his alcoholism that was really
It could be
the driver there.
Could be. It certainly wouldn't have helped. I mean, I assume that the doctor did a panel on him pre-McDonald's and everything was fine. But if you're eating like that and you're drinking like he was maybe drinking, yes, it could definitely make it worse.
Right. So it's sort of like, and this is always like, and this is when people are like, well, documentaries, they have a point of view, like they're biased. Because some
documentaries do have a point of view. Absolutely.
Yes. I mean, it's the person directing and producing and everybody. And I know I'm writing nonfiction right now, and I had an idea about something, and then I went like 180, like, oh, I got new evidence. Yeah. And so it's not what people think I thought it was going to be. But, and I know people are going to give me a hard time when it comes out. That's me pre-selling it, Sonia. So anyway, R.I.P. Morgan Spurlock.
Yeah.
I'm very sorry. I mean, his brother made the announcement, and
Yeah,
I'm
I
sorry if
saw
his
that.
brother's listening. I lost my brother. I've lost both of my brothers, by the way. So it sucks. He's 53. He's way too young.
That's so young.
It's so young, and it appeared like, from what I saw, that he was trying to do better.
Yeah.
And do more for himself and do more for, he has a family, he had kids, and
Yeah.
I don't know. People are very complicated. I think
They are.
maybe that's what I'm
Absolutely.
saying.
This is we didn't know that we were going to really go in this direction in this little intro to another episode, but if you're all looking for like an alternate to that, you could watch the documentary Your Fat Friend with Audrey Gordon.
Yes, say that, Sonia.
I watched it a couple weeks ago. It's super great. She co-hosts Maintenance Phase, and she for years wrote articles anonymously under Your Fat Friend, and it was about like fat phobia and how things are depicted in the media and all, how that all that stuff. And then she like went public with who she is, and it's kind of bananas how people attack her online, like just for being fat, just for being overweight. Like, by the way, one of her things is she wants you to use the word fat. So that's why I'm using the word fat. When some people are like, I don't like it when you say the word fat, like that's what she wants.
She self-identifies.
Yes, as fat. And people they're threatening her online just for existing. Or
Right.
saying like, hey, maybe we're not shitty to fat people. And people are like, you deserve to die. It's like, are you like doxing her because
Right.
of this? It's really, really interesting. And she like talks about the process of writing her book and how she grew up and what her relationship was like with her parents and all of that. She's very, very interesting. And like, I don't know, I respect her work a lot. And I love Maintenance Phase. And,
It's a great podcast, and
yeah.
I think I'm sure they must have done an episode about Supersize Me. That just seems like
probably
her and Michael's total jam to talk
Absolutely.
about that.
I'm sure that's come out, or I'm sure there's another podcast that sometimes they tend to appear on, which is You're Wrong About.
Right.
Might have covered this, but that that documentary is out there to be rented, I think. So that's a good alternative.
Great job, Sonia.
Thanks.
Our creep and non-creep. He's not. I don't know if we're going to say he's a creep. Like,
Yeah.
that's some creepy stuff that he's admitted
Yeah,
to. Like,
and it's and it's an interesting story. I didn't know any of that.
right. I didn't know if I was going to talk about it. And then I was like, I should talk about it. I've
Yeah.
actually I have some
That's fine.
connections to
Yeah.
it. So, I mean, respect to him, and okay. Anyway,
Yeah.
so staying in the film world.
Yeah.
We released this our episode about Kevin Spacey. I believe it was 3 years ago. This is when
Dang.
the accusations started coming out. 2021. It's already been post Me Too movement. We want to make it clear that some of the people that have accused him, some of the cases that have gone to judges or they've been dismissed. He was acquitted in a jury trial recently. I think it was a jury trial.
Yeah.
Yes, it was a jury trial because he
They
thanked
were.
them. Did you see the documentary? It was on
Yeah,
HBO.
I did. I watched it, and we're linking to it in our show notes so people can go back. Some of the cases, there was a case in the United States, there's a case in UK, and both of them he was acquitted. Take from that what you will. Just because he was found of no legal wrongdoing doesn't mean it's not wrong or inappropriate. Like
R.E. O.J. Simpson.
Yeah, we can decide for ourselves, like
Right.
whether we believe victims or not. I believe them.
Me too.
So in our episode, we list it's over 30 accusations. Like this is one of those ones, kind of like the Andy Dick episode, where I started digging in and I was like, damn, that's a long list. The documentary is called Spacey Unmasked, and it interviews 8 different men, and none of them are people that are in my episode, which confirms what we say a lot when we talk about sexual predators is the people who speak up usually means there's a lot more that we don't know about.
Right.
And this is kind of proving our point. Like, I listed over 30 different accusations in our documentary, or in our episode, sorry. And this documentary has 8 more.
Right.
And, one is someone he went to high school with. So he's started the shit at like a young age. There's someone he worked at the Old Vic Theater that he was running. Another was an extra on House of Cards. And they interview a couple of different people from House of Cards that work closely with him, that witness things firsthand. It's really interesting documentary. It's frustrating too, because
It's frustrating because Sharon Stone and Liam Neeson, I just put a link in the show notes, basically are like, well, he's been acquitted, so let's see some more Spacey. And I'm like,
No.
You get on a fucking film set with him. Put one of
Nope.
your sons on a film set with him, and then tell me you feel comfortable.
yeah, no. And they're like, well, we need him. No, we don't.
No, we don't.
Well, there's plenty of
And
people who could play his part.
I think he's a fantastic actor.
Absolutely. I was a huge fan.
Huge fan. Yeah, and I'm going to watch 7 again. I'll watch, Usual Suspects again.
I loved Kevin Spacey. I was all in on Kevin Spacey. I thought he was awesome. Like, I had been a big fan since like Swimming with Sharks came out. Before he won his Oscar, I was stoked for him. And then I was super disappointed,
well, yeah.
obviously. And I think that comes out in the episode. You'll hear all about my disappointment. But again, like, the documentary covers some cases that we don't talk about. So we wanted to put out an update and push it out for our long weekend here in the United States.
Yes. Remember that Memorial Day Monday is actually a day of observation for people who died while they were in service to our country.
Yeah.
It's not just a beach weekend.
It's also a great time to go out and buy a new mattress. Sundays. No, I'm kidding. Go out and get 50% off your mattresses. That's what our founding fathers would want. Yahoo!
Didn't your grandpa die in the war?
It's just so weird. We are so
we got
weird.
a deal on popcorn. Let's go.
So weird.
It's bizarre what's happened. I like to go to the park. They do a service here up in Windsor Terrace. They have one for the vets there, and it's it's just nice. So anyway, so keeping that in mind for all those that perished in service,
Yes.
we salute you.
Yes, we do.
Whatever
Salute.
universe you are right now, we send our best
thank
wishes
you.
to you, and thank you. Thank you for your service. Thank you
Yes.
for your sacrifice for our country. Yeah, this is kind of a strange episode, is it not?
Very strange. That's cool. That's fine.
But that's okay.
Yeah.
What are we going to be talking about? So we also co-host, just really quickly, we co-host a show called Dorking Out, where we dork out about movies. And we've decided to do, which one we're going to do, Sonia?
We're going to replay 9 to 5 in honor of Dabney Coleman. So,
who passed away yesterday or the day before.
Yeah, and he's like 92, I think.
Long
94.
life, great career, fabulous actor, funny as shit.
Yep.
Just elevated material. I mean, 9 to 5, I think if anybody else was the boss, it wouldn't be as much
He's
fun.
so good. R.I.P.
He's
Gary
such-
F. Hart.
He was a great
But
douchebag
to me,
in
he will
movies.
always be Hart. I love that movie so much.
Thank you all so much for listening. We're going to replay our episode right now from our Kevin Spacey episode. And once again, all those places I listed at the top of the show, you can send us your suggestions for creeps. And remember also for non-creeps, and Sonia was on the ball coming up with one on the fly today.
Go me.
Woohoo! All right, everybody, stay safe, be kind. Don't be a creep. This is one of our most requested creeps. Like, I swear, I think it's like once a week someone writes in our group, when are you going to talk about Kevin Spacey? And today's your lucky day.
Sweet. Sources for this episode, because we list all of our sources, and you could go to the show notes. You could swipe left or right or whatever, or down or up, and all the links are there. And it's Vox, who did a very detailed, very long list of like everything. So it's a really good one. BuzzFeed, New York Times, BBC, Hollywood Reporter, The Daily Mail, CNN, ABC News. Seriously, there's a lot here. NBC News, The Daily Beast, LA Magazine, New York Magazine, Biography, and Wikipedia.
But Sonia, did you do some research before?
No. I didn't read any of this stuff. I pulled all of this out of my ass. And trigger warnings include sexual harassment and sexual assault. Kevin Spacey. That's literally what I wrote. Kevin Spacey. He is probably in some of your favorite movies from the 90s. He did The Ref, Swimming with Sharks, The Usual Suspects, Seven, LA Confidential, Time to Kill, American Beauty, a movie that a lot of people love, but we don't. We did a Dorking Out episode about it if you want to know more about that. He's won 2 Oscars. He's won multiple like Golden Globes, Screen Actors Guild Awards, Critic Awards. Most recently, he was on House of Cards on Netflix, where he won, a bunch of awards for that too. Did you ever watch House of Cards, by the way?
I super loved the first couple of seasons, and then it just it got too, turns out too real for me to handle. So, but I loved, he's a great actor, and he's in a lot of things that I super love. He's super talented. I can't take that away from him. He's super talented.
This is true. I'm going to admit right off the bat, I was a really big Kevin Spacey fan. If he was in something that was good enough for me, I would go see it and be like, yeah, at least Kevin Spacey's in this. I really liked Kevin Spacey, even though I didn't watch House of Cards. But one of the things I liked about Kevin Spacey was he was really good at playing creeps. Like, he was so good at it. And it turns out he wasn't really acting. More than 30 people have accused him of sexual harassment and sexual assault. So that's why he's a creep. So let's start at the beginning. Kevin Spacey Fowler was born in South Orange, New Jersey. Do you know this?
Yes, of course.
Okay. July 26th, 1959. He's a Leo. Sorry, Leos. His father is Thomas Fowler, who worked as a technical writer and a data consultant, and his mother, Kathleen, worked as a secretary. He's the youngest of 3 kids, and you're going to love this. His older brother, Randy, works as a limousine driver and a Rod Stewart impersonator.
I love that. I want to hang out with Randy.
Mm-hmm. If you think he's sexy and you need a ride, come on, baby, let him know. He also has a sister named Julie, and she just works in an office, and she leads a very quiet life. His family relocated from New Jersey to Southern California when he was 4 years old, and Spacey's brother Randy has said in interviews that their father is a racist, Nazi supporter, and he was sexually and physically abusive.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. Randy said that his father began molesting him when he was 12, and that the mother knew of the abuse. And Randy said, this is a quote, "Neither Kevin or I had a chance growing up with 2 such damaged parents. There is so much darkness in our home that it was beyond belief. It was absolutely miserable." And because all of this was going on, Spacey really tried to avoid everything by like kind of just wrapping himself up in an emotional bubble. He was very cut off, and he was very sly to avoid trouble. When he started high school, he was sent to military school, but was expelled for throwing a tire at a student, like you do.
That's CrossFit. Didn't they know that?
Yeah. He was ahead of his time.
He should have grabbed a big hammer. I'm like, no, I'm working out. I'm getting ripped.
I'm getting ripped, man. Eventually, he was transferred to Chatsworth High School, and he was the co-valedictorian along with Mayor Winningham, who we love.
Oh my God, really?
Yes.
Wow.
This is good. It's going to get really good. And this was all in 1977. At the high school, he starred in the senior production of Sound of Music, and he played Captain Von Trapp. And Mare Winningham played Maria. Isn't that cute?
I would have loved to have seen that. Oh my God. My brain it wants that.
Those people got a special treat and they didn't even know it. Wow. So around that time, that's when he started he dropped the Fowler and he was just going by Spacey, obviously, because his father is an abusive prick, right? Why do you want that name?
Yeah, I get it.
That guy. After high school, Spacey tried his hand at stand-up comedy, which I did not know. And if you've seen him on SNL, he's a funny guy.
Yeah.
And really good at impressions.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I watched a movie that I really loved last week, and it starts Burt Lancaster, and I forget the name of it, but it's a guy who has like all these kids, and they're coming to visit him, and then he dies, spoiler, and they give him a Viking funeral. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
Rocket Gibraltar.
Oh,
it's on Amazon.
Gosh. Okay.
And Kevin Spacey plays the boyfriend to one of the women, or the husband, excuse me. And he plays a stand-up comic, and he's not very good, but he shows up, and first thing he does is a Johnny Carson impression, and it's spot on.
Yeah,
he's really good at it. So continue.
Yeah, there is an amazing SNL skit where they did like other actors auditioning for Star Wars. He gets to he's doing like his Jack Lemmon and his Walter Matthau and his Christopher Walken. Like he's really, really good at that stuff. So I get it. Like he's a funny guy.
He is.
One of his former high school classmates was Val Kilmer. There's
Another
a lot
kook.
Another kook, but we love Val Kilmer too. And he convinced Kevin Spacey to enroll in Juilliard, which he did. And he went there for 2 years, but he left. He joined the New York Shakespeare Festival.
Oh, that thing.
And that little thing. And then after that, it was just work. He did a bunch of stage and TV work. His first big starring role on Broadway was opposite Jack Lemmon. In Eugene O'Neill's A Long Day's Journey into Night. This was in 1986. Also in 86, he made his big screen debut in Mike Nichols' Heartburn.
Yep.
With Meryl Streep and Jack Nicholson. And then in the late 80s and 90s, he just started showing up in movies. So you saw him in Working Girl, where he played a creep, and Glengarry Glen Ross, where he played a creep. And in 1991, he won a Tony Award for Lost in Yonkers.
Yep.
And then in 95, he just blew up. So he had these 2 movies, one right after the other. One was Seven, which is really good, and he's really good in it. And The Usual Suspects, which he won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor. And then after that, he was really big. So it was Time to Kill, Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil, LA Confidential, legit great movie, and American Beauty, which he won the Academy Award for Best Actor. During this time, he was also doing a lot of highly acclaimed stage productions at the Old Vic Theatre in London. And he spearheaded a successful fundraising campaign to keep that theater open. And he was a big donor, and he actually worked as an artistic director from 2004 to 2015. It's a long time.
Yeah.
And throughout his career, there was a lot of speculation about Spacey's sexual preferences. He was never seen with women. He'd bring his mother to the Oscars. There was this really famous October 1997 in Esquire. Do you remember this? And the headline was Kevin Spacey has a secret. And they basically outed him.
Yeah, it was not cool. It was very predatory.
Not cool.
Yeah.
And they kind of backtracked it, and they were we were really talking about his character in Midnight of the Garden of Good and Evil. We weren't really talking about him, but if you read it, they were totally talking about him, and they kind of outed him. And then Spacey addressed these rumors, and he said that he was never going to talk about his sexuality. And he says, "I'm not giving up my privacy." He says, "It's a line I've never crossed and never will."
Okay.
Well, we'll just see about that, Mr. Spacey, because here's where things start to get creepy. This is a long list, everybody, so brace yourself. So the Me Too movement is in full swing. We're 2017 now. And actor Anthony Rapp did an interview with BuzzFeed. And this is what kicked it all off. So he revealed in 1986, when Spacey was 26 and Rapp was 14, they kind of ran in the same circles. They were both doing Broadway shows in New York. And at some point, Spacey invited Rapp to his apartment for a party. And there were other people there. It was an actual party. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the night, Rapp was the only one left. And he was like, oh, the party's over. And he was like getting ready to leave. And Kevin Spacey picked him up and like placed him on his bed and climbed on top of him. Yeah, I know. And Rapp said he was able to squirm away after a short period. Like, once again, 14.
Yeah.
So after the story was published, Spacey went to Twitter and he said, I don't remember this happening. And here's his statement is, but if I did behave as he describes, I owe him a sincerest apology for what would have been deeply inappropriate drunken behavior.
So he's not taking responsibility.
No, because FYI, being drunk is not an excuse for sexual assault. I've been drunk lots of times.
Yeah.
I hardly ever sexually assault anyone. That's bullshit. And then his statement continued. So then he says, this story has encouraged me to address things about my life. I know there are other stories out there about me that have some have been fueled by the fact that I have been so protective of my privacy. I now choose to live as a gay man. So in other words, Kevin Spacey tried to change the narrative here. Right. So it's not about I sexually assaulted this 14-year-old boy. It's that I'm gay.
Right.
And to his credit, it worked a little bit. Like some places ran with the story of Kevin Spacey comes out. Oh, and also he sexually assaulted somebody who was 14. Like, it's really shitty. Because once again, your sexual orientation has nothing to do with assaulting somebody. It's a shitty thing to do. And it plays into the stereotype, I think, of gay men as pedophiles and perverts.
Yes.
So he's a creep just for that. But this is when the floodgates open. Okay, so Anthony Rapp kicks open the door and everyone is like, oh, cool. I'm going through that door too. So here we have director Tony Montana. I looked up his credits. I didn't recognize anything, but he does work. Mm-hmm. He said that Spacey physically assaulted him in 2003 when Montana was in his 30s. He alleges that Spacey approached him in a bar, groped him, and then said to him, "This designates ownership."
Ugh.
Isn't that gross?
Oh
it's so
God.
Gross. Former Boston TV anchor Heather Unruh, thank you, said that Spacey sexually assaulted her then 18-year-old son in July 2016 at the Club Car restaurant in Nantucket. Chris Nixon said he met Spacey in 2007 while Nixon was working at a cocktail bar in London, which was near the Old Vic Theatre. And Nixon told the BBC that after attending a party at Spacey's penthouse, Spacey sat next to him on the sofa and reached over and grabbed his penis. And then he said, "I could fuck you better than Nixon's girlfriend, who was also there at the party."
Jesus Christ.
So gross. So gross.
Oh, my God.
Anyway, Nixon left the party, and then he said 2 weeks later he ran into Spacey. Nixon then went down to the basement to like get some more booze or something like that, and that Spacey followed him down there and cornered him and grabbed him and offered to make it up to him.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, I know. Ugh. It's so...
How many times have you been cornered by a weird guy? It's so awful.
It's so awful and scary, and you just want to get out of the situation. And Nixon said, "I didn't speak out at the time because I didn't think anyone would believe me."
Right.
Which is totally normal. And he didn't want to get fired. And he said that it was after Anthony Rapp came out that he thought it was important that he come out and tell his story because he wants to show that there's a pattern of behavior here, which I totally get. So also in 2007, Norwegian writer Ari Behn met Spacey at the 14th annual Nobel Peace Prize concert in Oslo. You know, He's just there, just hanging out. And that concert, by the way, it was hosted by Spacey and Uma Thurman. And afterwards, Spacey and Bean went to a party at a nightclub, and they were seated next to each other. He said that Kevin Spacey kept reaching under the table and grabbing his junk.
Ooh.
I know. I'm like, keep your fucking busy hands to yourself, you fucking creep.
You could pay people, by the way.
Yeah, no shit. Well, we're going to get to that.
Okay, good.
Okay. I'm sorry, you guys. It's a long list. Actor Harry Dreyfus, so that's Richard Dreyfuss's son.
Oh, yeah.
Said that Spacey groped him when he was 18 years old. He said that he was in Spacey's London apartment with his dad because they were like rehearsing for a play, and that whenever Richard Dreyfuss wasn't looking, Spacey was like groping Harry.
Oh, God.
That Harry didn't say anything at the time because he didn't want his dad to like punch Kevin Spacey and lose his job.
Oh, my God.
Ugh. In 2008, Scotland Yard began an investigation because a man who was believed to be Kevin Spacey assaulted a 23-year-old bartender in London. The victim came forward again after Anthony Rapp told his story. And he said this is what happened, that he approached Spacey to get some advice for his career, and that Spacey invited him back to his apartment and they were smoking weed, and that he woke up and found Spacey performing oral sex on him.
Oh, my God.
It keeps going. In 2010, Daniel Beale said that Spacey flashed his genitals at him while Beale was working at a bar in West Sussex. Beale was 19 at the time. And actually at the time, he took a photo of himself wearing this very fancy watch, Beale did, which was given to him by Spacey after the incident because he wanted to buy his silence.
Oh, my God. Jesus.
And then we get to the like House of Cards years. So from 2012 to 2017, 8 sources told CNN that Spacey's behavior was predatory, that he harassed or initiated non-consensual physical contact, also known as assault, with production crews, specifically targeting young men. One anonymous crew member said that Spacey routinely touched him inappropriate through 6 seasons on the set, and that he didn't say anything because he felt uncomfortable speaking up and he didn't want to lose his job.
Yeah, this happens on sets all the time. We're finding
so
out.
Awful.
It is such a horrible environment for people, and stars just have too much power on the set.
Yeah, and people feel like we've talked about this before, the idea that you should just feel honored to be working in Hollywood. Right. So you need to put up with this sort of thing, and it just fucking sucks.
Yeah, and a lot of them have it's like a gig economy. Like they just have a gig for a little while and then they try to get another gig. It's, you know what I mean? They don't get benefits or anything like that. So these getting these jobs is like super important, and you want a good reputation.
Exactly. So, I was just going to say, you rely on word of mouth so much for these jobs and being recommended.
Right.
I feel so bad for them. This one's fucked up too. In September 2012, it's all fucked up, by the way. Not trying to say that anyone's is more fucked up than anyone else's. In September 2012, Spacey was filming like a promotional shoot it was a photo shoot for the first season of House of Cards. And he was like holding a burning flag, and he like burned his hand a little. So this like 20-something production assistant drove him to the hospital. Spacey apparently was too wounded to like continue the shoot, but not wounded enough to not sexually harass people. And he totally harassed this person in the car and was groping them, and
with the burned hand,
with his non-burned hand.
So he's
I guess
got the burned hand like kind of up and wrapped, and then the other one's just grabbing the other person's junk. Who's driving them?
Yes,
or accompanying him. Oh, for God's
driving.
sakes.
Yeah. He's going to get them both killed. And then multiple on-set sources said that he groped the PA, and that the PA actually complained to his superior, but nobody did anything about it. And then
oh my God,
I know
it's oh Jesus Christ.
Even when you do speak out, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So the Old Vic Theater had so many people working there over the years that they set up like a hotline so they could do their own investigation. And they received 20 allegations of inappropriate behavior, and they were all young men. They were all over the age of 18, just to be clear.
Mm-hmm.
One of them was this Hispanic actor, Robert Cavos. I got it. It's Cavos. And he worked with Spacey at the Old Vic, and he said that Spacey touched him inappropriately numerous times and said that Spacey would frequently grope men while hanging out at the Old Vic's bar. And he said, it appears that all that was needed was a male under the age of 30 for Mr. Spacey to feel free to touch us. It was so common that it turned into a local joke. It's so fucked up.
But you know, there's always that guy that wants to hug you.
Yes.
And we know this. It's like starting like 7th grade for me. You know, guys think, oh, I want to give you a hug. And they try to like hump you. And they're just like, they're just hugging you. What's the big deal? And it's like, I know what's really happening. I'm not fucking stupid. But if you say anything, you're bitchy or you're not fun or you're whatever. And you're inviting it. Or it's so fucking frustrating. Just keep your body to yourself, people.
Yeah. I can't even. This happened to me at the movie theater all the time. Inevitably, someone who works with you is a dude with busy hands.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like he tries to squeeze past you at the candy counter and he like brushes your ass.
Or touches your waist as they walk.
Yes. Oh my God. That's another one where I was like, that's some intimate shit.
Yeah.
Like, you don't get to touch my waist. Like, I hate that.
I fucking hate that. Yes.
So gross. But he was such a big star that they were afraid. I feel so bad for them. You know, and there's this other thing about some people didn't want to come out because they also didn't want to be the person that outed him.
Right. Right.
You know,
right.
like they don't want, at this time he's gay, but he's not out. And so they didn't want to be the person that outed him too. They took it on themselves to do that. It's like so crazy to me.
When he won the Academy Award for American Beauty, he wasn't with his mother that time. He was with a woman named Diane.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And he kept saying, yeah, Diane, thank you so much for all your love and everything. And she had the most startled expression, like, what?
Whatever,
he
man.
was really trying to keep it secret, being the point.
Yes, it was a big deal. It was like a really bad kept secret, though, because I don't know. He's a good actor, but apparently not good enough to convince everyone that he wasn't into dudes. I think it was pretty well known, but never officially. So there's more stories. There was a journalist who spoke with BuzzFeed. They remained anonymous, though, because they still work as a journalist. And they were interviewing Spacey. This was in London in the early 2000s. He said after the interview, Spacey invited him to hang out with him and some friends at a club. And he said that Spacey continued to like grope him aggressively, quote unquote. That's also called assault. And it happened repeatedly. And he kept trying to tell him to stop. And then when he tried to leave, Spacey prevented him from leaving and then started screaming at him that the journalist wanted to fuck Spacey, but that he was a coward. Oh my God. And then the journalist said that was his tactic. It was unbelievable.
Wow.
Like that's his fucking pickup line. You want to fuck me, but you're a coward. What an asshole. So the journalist actually reported this incident to his editor. The editor confirmed that this did in fact happen, and this was all in BuzzFeed. So the links are in the show notes. Another anonymous man told New York Magazine that in 1983, when he was 14 and Spacey was 24, he began a sexual relationship with Spacey that ended after Spacey tried to rape him.
Oh, man.
Yeah. He's a young actor. He said that his relationship with Spacey lasted about a year and that during that time he finally became aware that 25-year-olds don't usually have sex with 14-year-olds.
Right. Right.
That it's wrong and that I was not the guilty party and I could leave. That's what he says. And he told New York Magazine that the relationship ended when he was 15. And that's when he tried to break it off, Spacey tried to rape him.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Wow, this guy's an asshole.
He's such a fucking asshole. I only knew about I told you this before we started recording. I only knew a few of these stories. I had no idea the list was this long when I started. I was like, it just keeps going. There's more. In 1985, Spacey approached a 17-year-old boy and like invited him back to his home, where Spacey was at first like really charming and sweet to him. And then it quickly escalated to being like he called it, quote, sexually inappropriate.
Oh God, he took his dick out?
Basically. And the boys, well, he's a man now, but at the time he was a boy. He said he was grooming me. Which, but the kid left. He just left. Mm-hmm. So good on him. Here we go. We got another one. In 1988, Justin Dawes met a 29-year-old Spacey. He was 16 years old. He invited Dawes and a friend to hang out at his apartment. He served them cocktails and he showed them gay porn. Mm-hmm. He knew I was in high school, but he wanted to have sex with me. It was pretty clear. And then they left. So good for them for leaving. Good call.
I'm glad they were able to leave. Sometimes you can't.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like he had a friend. He had a friend with him, so at least there was two of them. But fuck this creep. In 1995, Mark Edenhock was working as a military advisor on the set of Outbreak, which we've also done an episode of dorking out about. One of Spacey's on-set assistants propositioned him for Kevin Spacey, so he actually didn't harass him himself. He got an aide to do it for him.
He outsourced it.
Yeah, he outsourced it. I shouldn't say the word harass because he he's probably like, hey, Mr. Spacey would like to get with you. It's like, and he was like, no, thanks. That poor assistant, by the way. Like, that sucks. In 1995, on the set of Albino Alligator, which I think I saw when it came out, but I've never seen it since. Spacey was harassing a crew member who was 22 years old at the time. And according to anonymous crew members, Spacey initially seemed friendly and took an interest in this crew member. And then it immediately turned into like super creepy behavior and was giving him unwanted massages.
Oh, no.
Always with the massages.
Right. It goes back to the massage.
Yeah, always goes back to the massage. And this crew member said, on one of the last days of shooting, he sat down next to me, put his thigh next to mine, and put his hand on my thigh and moved it towards my inner thigh. He was going for his junk. And this man says, I felt trapped. I felt harassed and I sexually harassed. And it's like, yes, that's exactly what it is.
What was happening to you?
Yeah. So you mentioned, like, why doesn't he just pay for it? So it turns out Spacey has been banned from booking massages at some spa chains, including Burke Williams and through the Soothe app.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because he harasses the staff.
Oh, Jesus.
That's so gross. And these are just ones of people who have come forward, right? So probably tens, not maybe 20s more of people who have not come forward. And this is a lot.
Yeah.
So after Anthony Rapp, and super props to Anthony Rapp for being brave and telling his story, all these stories start coming out, and there were a lot of repercussions for Kevin Spacey. So he was fired from House of Cards. He was, this is amazing, completely erased from the movie All the Money in the World.
Oh, yeah, they had to recast it.
And they recast him with Christopher Plummer, who got an Oscar and a Golden Globe nomination for the role. The International Academy of Television Arts and Sciences, they're the people that do the like International Emmy Awards and stuff like that. They were going to honor Spacey with like a Founders Award. They obviously changed their mind on that. He had a nonprofit called the Kevin Spacey Foundation that was supposed to help emerging actors. I'm sure he was trying to help himself to their dick. It announced it was closing. And then Spacey had a representative give a statement that said he's taking time to seek evaluation and treatment. And he ended up going to one of those like elite Arizona treatment centers for sex addiction. And it's the same one that Harvey Weinstein went to.
And Rob Lowe.
Sorry, I almost I'm like, it worked so well for Harvey. Like, fuck this creep. Last year in September, Anthony Rapp actually sued Kevin Spacey for sexual assault, sexual battery, and intentional infliction of emotional distress because New York extended its statute of limitations for civil suits. So that is something that is happening. And joining Anthony Rapp in the suit is another man who has requested to be, he wants to stay anonymous. Mm-hmm. But last week, the court said that he cannot remain anonymous. So I think he has like a few more days from this recording to decide if he wants to be anonymous, then he can't be a part of this lawsuit, apparently.
Okay.
So that sucks because the man, he's going by the initial CD, and he is worried that if he goes public, like there's going to be post-traumatic stress and anxiety, nightmares, depression, like all the consequences that come with testifying. Yeah, reliving it and testifying in public. Look, once again, people don't want this kind of fame.
Right.
They don't want it. People are like, they just want to get fit. They don't. Nobody wants this. The police in England have said they haven't decided yet if they're going to file criminal charges against Spacey. They're still investigating all those accusations against him from the Old Vic Theater allegation. And a source, so what is Kevin Spacey doing right now? A couple of sources have told The Hollywood Reporter. One says he's living in London at his place near the Old Vic. And another source says that he is planning to write a book, but under a pseudonym.
Well, I mean, is it about his life story? That's going to be pretty easy to figure out.
I don't know. It probably won't be about him. I would guess that.
So he's writing a fiction book?
Probably. That would be my guess. If it's under a pseudonym.
Yeah.
It must be a fiction book, but.
He's got to do something, I guess. As long as he's not touching other people or
seriously.
Good. Find something else to do, but quit your shit. And I feel bad that, of course, that he was abused as a kid, and that's super unbelievably traumatic and terrible. And of course, we have empathy and sympathy, but it doesn't give you the right to do that to someone else.
No.
And he did it over and over and over again.
I'm sorry, you have to take responsibility for your actions.
Right.
And I do have so much sympathy for him that this happened to him when he was younger, but you can't do that. I'm sorry. No.
Yeah, you know how bad it is. You know how horrible it feels.
He's a fucking creep.
Yeah.
It was such a bummer. Like I said, I was a big fan. So, but that's our creep, Kevin Spacey.
Good job, Sonia.
Thank you. I'm going to go take the longest shower.
I know, you're going to take a soapwood shower.
So, bleh.
A friend of mine knows people that they are in the theater world in New England where Kevin Spacey hangs out. And she said that he just had this reputation for being a raging asshole, just super tough to work for and just obnoxious. So like he's that on top of this. So
yeah,
which sucks. Oh, you want to work with someone that talented.
Right. I'm sure if I did some digging, I could find like all kinds of on-set acting like an asshole.
Right.
I decided to focus more on.
No. This is the criminal activity. So yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So let's take a break and we'll talk about our non-creep this week. And you don't even know who it is. I'm going to surprise you.
I know. I'm dying to know.
Here you go. So Sonia, do you know who actor James Cromwell is?
Yes, he was in the movie Babe.
He was in the movie Babe. He said, "That'll do, pig."
That'll do, pig.
That'll do, pig. He's also in Star Trek First Contact, LA Confidential. Talk about that again. The Green Mile, Spider-Man 3, The Secretariat, Angels in America, 6 Feet Under, American Horror Story Asylum, Boardwalk Empire, Halt and Catch Fire. He's Succession. That's been a show that he was on that for a year.
That is on my list to watch because everyone loves it, and I need to watch it.
I need to watch it too. He's an actor. He's 6'7", by the way. He was nominated.
What?
Yes, he's 6. That's how tall my nephew is.
Jesus.
Yeah,
that's really tall.
Yeah. He's an actor. His father was director John Cromwell, who, by the way, he was caught up in all those congressional hearings, the McCarthy hearings, his dad. So that was part of his childhood, as his father being harassed for that. He is an actor, but he's also an activist. He was raised with that in his family, but the biggest moment in his life, and I realized I should probably do an episode about this. In 1964, in Philadelphia, Mississippi, 3 men were part of a team called CORE. And what it was is they were going to the South to help people register to vote because Black people were being harassed to not vote. And they went to Mississippi and they were killed by the KKK. Mm-hmm. And it's a horrible story. And we'll talk about the man, Edgar Ray Killen, played by James Woods. I think it is. Yeah.
Also, was this movie related to or was this the movie Mississippi Burning?
Mississippi Burning, yes. Mississippi Burning.
Okay.
And his friend Mickey Sherwin was one of the men that was killed. And he was young, and it was terrible. So he became an advocate for change. He supported the Black Panthers from the back in the day till now. He's a big human rights person, but he's also really big into against animal cruelty. Ooh. He does a lot of stuff with PETA, but also with other organizations. You and I aren't like too thrilled with PETA, but
no, they're not my fave.
They're not my fave either.
But animals are my fave.
Yeah. He's been a vegetarian since 1974 because he said he was at a stockyard in Texas and he experienced the smell, terror, and anxiety of the animals. He became a part of PETA because when he starred in the movie Babe, he realized how intelligent pigs are. And I don't know if you know this, but pigs are super intelligent.
They're so smart.
They are so freaking smart. And they make actually for great pets. They're not messy. My grandmother grew up with pigs as pets.
Yeah. I know someone who has a pig too.
Yeah. They're super loving.
Yeah. His name is Oliver. And he is really, really cute. Oh. And one day we took Oliver for a walk together and I was like, Oliver's so fucking cute. I want a pig. Amazing. Damn it. I'm getting a pig.
I'm going to get me a little pig. my menagerie here. His activism also went into effect one day when he went to SeaWorld here in the States, and I think it's in San Diego, where they do that thing where they take those beautiful whales and dolphins and all these other, sea creatures and make them perform stunts, which gives them, anxiety and ulcers. Oh. It's horrible what happens.
I can't even watch. There's all these documentaries about that, and I can't even watch them because I know it'll wreck me.
It will. It actually will. You do need to kind of prepare yourself. He went to SeaWorld, and as soon as they started the show, he stood up and a bunch of his friends held signs and said, "This is what you're supporting right now, everybody." And he's 6'7", so you can't miss him. He uses his height for good in the world. He is also against environmental pollution and has been arrested several times for going to protests against things like people putting shit in the water that could poison you and all kinds of things. He's just an incredible, strong, smart man. He shoots from the hip. He said that wars, what do you say, where would you like to start? We could start with the Peloponnesian War. We can go through Crimea into the First World War and the millions who died in the trenches for what was basically a family spat. My country is divided almost 50-50 between people who are mildly deluded and those who are completely insane, driven to their insanity by their ignorance. He's not a big supporter of Biden. He just thinks he's lesser of two evils. He's a Bernie guy. And, and he says that the only thing that gives me hope at all, and this is from an article, Big Issue. The only thing that gives me hope at all is Greta Thunberg, Black Lives Matter, movements all over the world of indigenous people, people of color, women, trans people fighting for justice. People give me hope. Politicians give me no hope at all. And he's still here with us. He's still fighting the good fight, and he's using his fame. He's using his stature to promote good things in the world, and is willing to go to jail for it, which is super fucking brave, I think.
I think so too. I'm going to start referring to him now as National Treasure.
Yes.
James Cromwell.
And that's our not creep this week, James Cromwell.
That's a really good pick. I didn't know all of that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome pick.
I picked him, by the way. I should have said this at the top. He was nominated for an Academy Award in the same category as Kevin Spacey in 1996. So I was looking like who else was nominated, and I started looking into their stories, and I started reading his story, and I'm like, ooh, that's really cool. He sounds interesting.
Was it for Babe?
Yes, it was for Babe.
Oh,
that'll do, Pig.
I love that movie so much.
I cried my eyes out. I haven't watched that movie in a really long time. It gets me very emotional.
Yeah. Well, you even mentioned The Green Mile, and I was like, no.
I know.
No.
And that was a set full of men. I think one of them, it's like Tim Robbins is like 6'3". Like that's a set where like all tall men, but he's like 6'7".
Jesus.
Yeah.
I'm going to put Babe on my list because I think it would be fun to show my son.
Oh, he'd love it.
I think it would be fun for us to talk about Babe on Dorking Out.
I think we should put that on the list.
I will put it on the list.
So you guys, if you like the sound of our voices, and by golly, if you're still with us, you probably do. Or we're torturing you right now. You can't reach it. You're trapped under something heavy, and you just want to turn off this podcast.
It's so awful for you. Sorry.
But we co-host a show called Dorking Out, where we dork out about movies. Sonia, what's going to be the next movie that we're going to cover?
It's the 30th anniversary of Thelma and Louise.
Woo!
I have a feeling that this movie is going to hold up and is going to play like a motherfucker.
Yeah.
That's my guess. I'm really excited for this one. It's always super fun to dork out. So
yeah, we just also dorked out about Madonna's Truth or Dare, which was really fun. That was a good discussion that we had. Please follow us on all the things with social media. We love it. If you have suggestions, we love it when you use the Andy Potts GIF. We got one from Ghostbusters, but use whatever you want. We're always here listening. If you'd like some stickers, please email us, whatacreeppodcast, spell that all out, at gmail.com. And Sonia, where can they find you?
You can find me at thesoniashow.com and The Sonia Show on Twitter and Instagram and TikTok.
She's good on TikTok.
Oh, thanks, my friend. Where can people find you, Margot?
I'm at Brooklyn Fit Chick for Twitter and Instagram. You could follow me on TikTok. I don't think I'm ever going to do anything, but I'll follow you back. I'm not good at these things. And my blog is brooklynfitchick.com. And in the meantime, everybody, be good, be kind. We're going to, until the next episode, don't be a creep.
Creep.
I called them.
Thank you for listening to us talk about creeps. You can follow us at What a Creep Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
But don't follow us too closely.
You can email us your creepy stories at whatacreeppodcast@gmail.com.
But please keep your dick pics to yourself.